The following podcast is taken from a live broadcast on Inspire FM.
Good morning and Assalamu Alaikum. You are tuned into Inspire FM 105.1 FM. Welcome to Mother's Planet, a show where there is always something to talk about in a beneficial and positive way. I'm your host Neelam, and today's show is jam-packed with lots of food for thought. Firstly, listeners, let me start with the weather. If I could stream with excitement, I would right now. Alhamdulillah, we are finally blessed with some sunny days, and it's been really great because, dare I say it, it's not too hot. So it's quite nice. We've had the sun coming through, and there's been that breeze, and it's not too hot where it's a bit overwhelmingly hot for us. So we're coping. So I can safely say, I think, spring has finally arrived. It's been naturally my joy with the sunshine is getting the washing done, and it's all out and being line dried, and gardening. I like to talk about my garden and how I try to attempt it, but alhamdulillah, both have been successful for me this week. I did manage to get out in the garden and find my garden, if I say it. The grass had just overgrown, and I had got my lawnmower out and just gave it a good trim. And it looks nice. And actually, the kids were so happy when they came back from school because they actually enjoyed playing in the garden. And it was nice because I'd cleaned inside the house. And with them being outside and playing, it meant the inside stayed clean. So all for these sunny days, because the inside of my house stays fine. I don't mind how they get on in the garden. So, yes, I have found my garden again, and I'm hoping to go garden shopping this weekend to get some plants and pots for pot them in my plant pots, just to bring some colour into my garden. I'm not very good with naming flowers. I just like the look of them. If they look pretty and they've got nice colours, they'll do. I don't know different types of flowers. I need to educate myself. I don't know which ones are the ones that will just keep growing and keep going, or grow in abundance, or need less water. I just plant them and water them and hope for the best. So colours appeal to me, and I have no idea about plant names. But listeners, if you are a garden expert and you know about plants and which ones are good, give me a shout. Let me know this morning which ones are the best ones to invest in to make my garden look good. My husband doesn't like it when I invest in flowers in the garden because it does attract bees, and where I plant them is near my patio, and so if a window's open, they'll work their way into the house. So he's not too keen on me getting flowers that will attract flies. So let me know if there's any that I can get that don't attract flies, or any that would be not requiring that much work, because I only go for colours. I know very little about flowers. Now, we have also had, how has the week been for you listeners? Because we have had GCSE and A-level start across the country. So many students have unfortunately been unable to enjoy the sun that we have had, because they've just been stuck in their room revising and going in and sitting exams and then coming home and doing the same routine again. I know that my eldest is sitting her GCSE exams, and alhamdulillah, she's handled them well. I've had my, I think I've had more meltdown moments than she has, but her being the first, it's just reliving my own childhood and all the things that I didn't do, I'm trying to make her do. So I think I need to ease off her a little bit. I've been doing exam papers in my dreams. I've been picking up results in my dreams. So I need to take some breathing techniques. We had a nice breakaway last weekend where we went to Lyon in France and met some lovely sisters, alhamdulillah. And I think I've come back calmer. I'm not so stressed about her exams. So I think we both needed that break where we were switched off from the exams and the pressure. So alhamdulillah, she has been doing well, and she's handled them very well as well. And I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants all the children that are sitting their exams this time round success, inshallah. Ameen. So listeners, we are live on air, reaching out to all our listeners in Luton and surrounding areas through the airwaves at Inspire FM 105.1 FM. Listeners can also connect through TuneIn via the Inspire FM webpage. You can also connect through the Inspire FM app on your smartphones. So you can listen back to the show, or you can listen live to the show. So you actually got no excuse to miss the show. Inshallah, I hope we are live also as an audio on the Inspire FM Facebook page, where you must give me a thumbs up to say that you've tuned in and listened into the show, inshallah. And also leave any comments that you have around today's topic. As always, I am taking in WhatsApp messages or text messages on the studio number 07779 481 822. Share with me how your week's been, what you've been doing in the sunshine, what have you done? My production has been getting washing done and trying to hack away a little bit of gardening. What have you guys been up to? How's the week been for you? Do you have children sitting A-levels or GCSEs? Mums reaching out to you? How are you finding it? Are you stressed? Let me know. Give me a shout out this morning. Let me know how you are all feeling and what your coping techniques are. Now, I did want to share some quick hot tips on exams and revising this morning, because I know this is something that's going to be ongoing over the next few weeks, and lots of us are going to be finding it quite stressful. And it's early days at the moment, because I think they only just started this week. I know that my daughter's only just started on Monday. So it's early days. And then they have that 1 week of break. I've just received a text from Talha. Assalamu alaikum, sister. Wa alaikum salam. Thank you for tuning in this morning. I've just been asking listeners to share how their week's been and what they have done in the sunshine. Have you got up to any gardening? Or are you like me, when you see a bit of sunshine, it's let's get the washing out? I do think I need to do a bit more with just the sunshine. But yeah, it's nice to always see clothes being line dried and not in the dryer. So I do like doing that. So yes, how's your week been? What have you been up to? I know we've got one more week and then we've got half term, and it's strange, but I really feel like we need this half term already, because it's been quite a long term. Even though we've had all these bank holidays, I still feel that it's been quite a long term and it's dragged on. So I think especially for the GCSE and A-level students, that 1 week half-term break will be quite nice for them to just take that time out. Now, I did want to share some hot tips. Yes, so I've had a message come through. Let me share this with you guys. The grass in my garden is coming up to my knees, so I think a cut is due, but I just can't get myself around to doing it. And I think that's Brother Tariq himself confessing that the garden is really bad and he's being lazy. So, Brother Tariq, come on. It was actually me that took out the lawnmower and did it. I did pester my husband to do it. And it was one of those things that he said, yep, I'll do it. And he never did. And then he went into the office one day and came back to the grass all cut. So, yes, you need to just do it. You can't procrastinate on these things. You need to do it. And you'll feel so good. You'll actually feel like being in the garden a lot more as well. So do it. It's one of those things you do. Now, I have got some hot tips that I wanted to share on exams and revising. They're just a few short, simple tips, what we can help and encourage our children to embrace over the next few weeks while they're doing their exams. Now, my first top tip is don't panic. I think that was a piece of advice that I gave myself first, because I think I was panicking more than my daughter was. Her school has really trained them up for exams. I think in this year, for year 11, they've had several exams where they've been under exam conditions. So them going into the real exam, she just feels like it's a mock exam. She's not overly stressed about it. I think because the school has trained them so well, alhamdulillah, that she's not feeling like these are really big exams and it's really stressful. But they're not big exams. In these exams are not the be all and end all. And I think we need to really remind this generation of children this. The number of children I've heard say that they are stressed, they can't sleep, they're not eating properly. It's not worth it. In the grand scheme of things, these things are not worth it. Many successful people have made it big, despite having no grades at school. And so education is an ongoing process. You will always be educating yourself. You will always be learning something. Even at my age, I'm still learning. I'm still finding out new skills, developing in different areas. So education is a lifelong thing. It's something that we will never let go of. And we shouldn't allow our children to feel that they need to put pure emphasis on this and leave it as that. So yes, the first thing is to not panic. The second one is finding a balance. There is a message that's come through from Sister Nasima. I'm just going to try and get the team to try and upload that message for me so I can see that. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Nasima. Thank you for tuning in this morning. Assalamu alaikum, Neelam. I hope you are well, inshallah. We've had SATs and now uni exams. Oh, wow, I'm feeling for you. And then at the end of year exams, yes, coming. My 3 are at different stages. It feels like it just doesn't seem to get easier, and you really feel for them, especially when one of them is living away. Oh, lots and lots of du'as requested, please. Jazakallah khair. Yes, I feel for you, Nasima. I have no idea what I'm going to be like when my daughter's at university and she has exams to do. So yes, I feel for you as a mum. It's easy at the moment because she's in my house, so I can keep checking in on her, feeding her, and it's quite difficult when they do live away. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless your child and grant him or her success in their university exams. And yes, she agrees there's too much pressure these days and it's a long learning process. Absolutely. There was a headline that I stumbled across on the BBC website where it said that the SATs exams this year, given that the kind of years that we've been having post-pandemic, were one of the hardest exams the children had to face. And even some of the teachers at the end of the exam were really stumbled with some of the questions. So, I do think it was unnecessary, that kind of pressure. And I'm not in favour of SATs, especially the end of Key Stage 2, 1 SATs, where they're at year 2 and they have to sit those exams. I think they should scrap them. It's unnecessary pressure on children. And I do agree with you. But I think as parents, we can probably encourage them and make these positive and just, say to them, you're doing your best. You do what you can, and the rest we leave in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah will take care of the rest. And I think it's standing firm on those grounds as well, that there's only so much we can do. You will never be able to perfect it. So whatever you can do, you do, and the rest, trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The next one was finding a balance. There is time to study, and then there is family time. Yes, make sure you are doing both, as well as having the time to study and taking that time out to revise. Make sure you are having those important conversations with family members or your siblings or your friends, just to offload your thoughts and feelings. Don't keep them locked up. Just offload, and that's what mummies and daddies are there for. We are there for you to just offload your thoughts and feelings. And it's quite nice to just come down and have a chat with your siblings about something totally different where you're not thinking about work. So do find that balance. The next point is be realistic. Now create a realistic revision plan. I think I came across a YouTuber where he was telling students that over the weekend before the Monday that's just gone, they need to do at least 10 hours of revision. And I was flabbergasted at something being, advocated. I could not believe that he was sharing this kind of information with young children and telling them to study for that many hours and do as much as they can, cram in over the weekend before the exams. This is unnecessary. Be realistic with yourselves. Be realistic with the type of revision that you're doing. And one of the best things that I can recommend here, which was actually told to me by one of my daughter's teachers, get it right. She said to me, brain dumping. And brain dumping is literally getting an A3 paper or an A4 paper and just jotting down everything that you know, factual things that you know about that subject. And anywhere that you're finding any difficulties, go back, go and revise on that area, or go and study that topic again, or go and recap on areas of that topic. This really works well with topics like science, where some of the things are factual. With English, where you've got literature and you know the kinds of topics that are going to come up, especially if you've got Macbeth and a poem or something that's going to come up, you can look at that. And it also works really well with history and geography, where you are recalling dates or any factual information. So brain dumping is one of the best things you can do, and it's really good for you to offload what you know about that topic rather than going back and looking at your notes. And yes, of course, as much past paper practice that you can do is one of the best, because questions are repeated, questions are asked in the same, it's the same question asked in a different way. So, if you have practiced it really well, you'll be able to identify that and do that as well. And the last one, and the most important one to me, is practice self-care. Remember, you need to be in top form physically and mentally. Your physical and mental well-being is absolutely paramount. And so you need to be making sure you're getting enough sleep, you're eating well. And eating well, it's really easy to just grab, snacky things and binge on these things while you're eating, but actually try and make nutritious choices. Nuts are very good. Lots of things with fiber. Fruit, always big fan of fruit, salads, all these things that will just give you that much to keep you going, and small exercises to help boost your energy levels and improve your focus and reduce anxiety. So make sure you are also drinking lots and lots of water. So keeping yourself hydrated is one of those important factors as well. So they're my short 4 points that I wanted to just share to those that are sitting A-level and GCSE exams across the country. I hope those pieces of advice there are beneficial and helpful. So in today's show, the main topic is quite a tricky one, but there's been a lot of talk around this, and I felt that it needed to be addressed. And I'm inshallah going to try my best to try and help us parents cover this area. It is the rise in children accessing explicit content and images. So I wanted to start the show off with a headline that's taken off from the BBC News. The behaviour of children as young as 8 years old is being affected by the viewing of pornography. And this is said by the Children's Commissioner for England, Dame Rachel de Souza. She's concerned that how young children are being able to access these explicit content and images. And it's true, because the access to these inappropriate images and contents is actually now becoming a growing concern. And many parents are sometimes none the wiser, are not aware that their children have accessed something that's inappropriate, or have the freedom to access something that could lead to something inappropriate. So as technology is becoming more and more used and accessible, children are increasingly becoming exposed to this explicit content, especially things that are online. We are moving, fast-moving technology where everything now is online. Most of their homework's done online. Their lessons are done online. So yes, they have a computer in front of them and they have access to the big, scary World Wide Web. So children accessing pornography can have actual, real, terrible negative effects on their spiritual, emotional, and psychological well-being. And so as parents, it's our responsibility to safeguard them and nurture them. And especially as Muslim parents, I think it's really important that we instill Islamic values and morals into them from an early age. Our faith teaches us the protection of one's modesty, both inwardly and outwardly. And this is something we should be reminding our children from day dot so that they understand the concept of modesty. And this is inwardly and outwardly. So how we behave and how we, come across physically as well. So with the increasing accessibility of explicit content, it's therefore crucial as parents we address this proactively and guide our children towards the healthy understanding of sexuality within a framework of Islamic teachings. Now, it's really important that we try our best to teach our children and educate our children. But, we are living in a fast-moving technological world where it's not just our children we need to educate ourselves. There's so many things now that are happening that didn't happen when we were growing up. Pornography and explicit content has always been there, but the access to it and the vast majority of how available it is and the platforms that it's available on is incredible now, because it's just spreading so fast, and it's on areas and in aspects that you would think, how could they even do this? So we have to be really careful that what we are allowing our children to access. So the question we ask ourselves is, firstly and foremostly, why are children accessing this kind of content at such a young age? There's no right or wrong answer on this, but there's several factors that we can say are contributing to this concern. And one of the ones that I have mentioned is the widespread availability of the internet. How everything is available on the internet now, and we are using if we don't understand something, let's go to the internet, let's find it out. And you have to be really careful what you type in and how you're finding it out, because you don't know what's going to pop up. We have smartphones, tablets, computers, and these are all readily available for our children to access. We've got the laptops lying around. We've got our phones lying around. My children know my password to my phone. They can easily pick up things and just, I need to search this. I need to look for this. And sadly, they can accidentally stumble upon explicit content while browsing the internet, or, looking at something that's genuine, but through unrequested pop-up or adverts, something inappropriate may pop up. So it's really important that we are addressing this. So how can we as parents address this concern and protect our children? Now, I hope to unveil some of this and share some steps that we can take as parents throughout this show. If there is anything that you would like to share around this topic with me this morning, please do message into the studio. I am taking in WhatsApp or text messages on the studio number 07779 481 822. I'd love to hear your views and thoughts on children accessing explicit content. What's your thoughts? I mean, young children are being able to access this. How do you feel about this? Are there measures that you have taken in place? Are there things that you've taught your children so that they know what's wrong or right? Do share your thoughts with me this morning. I'm going to share a few steps of guidance that we can take to help our children. And this will be looking at it from our faith, from an Islamic perspective as well, how we can try and instill some of our morals and values into the children, but also how generally we can take steps and measures in the house and in our general practice with raising our children, of how we can protect them as well. So my main advice to parents first will be to the steps that I am suggesting, and the guidance is things that I've researched and compiled myself. It's not the be all and end all. I'm sure there's a lot of different things that parents have tried and are trying and doing, and I'd love to hear them this morning if anyone's tuned in this morning and has any different thoughts on this. I'd love to take those thoughts in. But my first and main advice to parents would be to start conversations early with our children, especially when it comes to exposing their bodies. Make them aware of what is wrong and right, and the preservation of modesty from a young age. If they know that dressing inappropriately or wearing things inappropriately can cause the wrong attention from an early age, then they have that instilled in their mind. Now, listeners, we are actually heading over to a short commercial break, believe it or not. So, inshallah, after the break, I will address these points that I have compiled together, inshallah, to help address the concern of children accessing explicit content. But for now, I've got my hot cup of peppermint tea with me this morning. You go refill your hot drink or cold drink and join me after a short commercial break. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, this is Atif Nawaz. Listen to Inspire FM shows in your time by heading over to inspirefm.org or listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
Good morning and Assalamu alaikum. You are tuned into Mother's Planet. Welcome back. This morning I have been talking about how to relax and be calm during the exam period. And the main topic of the show has actually been in the rise in children accessing explicit content and images online. Now, it's a raising concern. It's something that's happening to children as young as 8, which is where the concern is becoming that younger and younger children are able to access these information. Now, I wanted to share some tips with parents how they can address this concern and protect their children as well. Now, first, I will be sharing it from an Islamic perspective and also how we can generally help our children stay safe online and offline as well. So firstly, I wanted to say the first point is to begin with Islamic education, is to teach your child about the principles of modesty and the importance of guarding this in line with our faith and practice. Remind them of their aura and the parts of the body we must cover. Now, earlier before the break, I said that my first and main advice to parents is to start conversations early with children, and especially when it comes to the way they dress. So if we address this from an early age about the appropriateness of how they clothe themselves, and we make them understand that it's not just how they physically look, but it's also from the inside. So what's coming from the inside and what's coming from the outside. So you've got to think pure and you've got to dress pure. And it's a very hard concept for young children to grasp, but it's all about modesty. And I think it's that where we need to just emphasize modesty and, dressing appropriately and looking at things that are dressed appropriately as well. And reminding them of what the aura is. So by knowing that this is a must, and if this is not covered, then this is sinful. It's wrong. The second one is establish open communication. Yes, communication is important. Have a open and non-judgmental environment where they can feel comfortable in asking questions and discussing sensitive topics. We as parents need to just create that environment. I know it's very hard because sometimes when your child comes and tells you something, our instinct is to react. But I think we need to just step back and let them speak and react in our own space, not where they're witnessing it. React in our own space, but for them, let them have that space where they can talk open. And it's important that we have these discussions with our children and we make them understand what the difference between appropriate and inappropriate content. You would be shocked as to how many children do not know the difference between what's acceptable and what's not acceptable, what's appropriate and what's inappropriate. So it's educating them and making them aware of this as well. So I have had another message come through. Assalamu alaikum, rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I will get the team to just point that one out to me, and inshallah I'll be able to respond to that question shortly. Here we go. Assalamu alaikum, and Assalamu alaikum. I've just received a message saying Assalamu alaikum. I'm hoping that they've just tuned in and they are listening out for the show today, this morning. It does look like it's a foreign number, so it's nice to hear that I have got some foreign listeners with me this morning. So yes, I am talking about children accessing explicit content and images, and how we as parents can protect our children and address this concern. So yes, I'm making them aware of inappropriate and appropriate content, because you'd be surprised at what children actually don't know, or what they don't deem as explicit content. So have these open conversations and clear any misunderstandings. Encourage them to ask questions and seek guidance from the perspective of our faith, in lining it with our faith and our belief. And this is the only way our children will understand the principles of our faith and actually be able to put it into practice. So it's really important that we have these conversations with our children and we give them that ground as well. And also just to clear any misunderstandings, which is really important, because often you think, oh yes, my child will know that, but actually when you speak to them, you'd be surprised as to how much. I mean, I've been in that situation where I've spoken to my children about things and they've turned a blind eye, saying, oh, I didn't know that, and I'm shocked, because I thought it was natural, it was, instinct, they would know this, but they don't. If you don't teach it, they won't know it. And the other thing I said at the very beginning of the show is technology is fast growing. It's continuously changing. There is things that are accessible and things that technology can do now that it didn't do 20 years ago. So our time of growing up with technology is very different. So it's very, very important that we educate ourselves and we stay informed about the latest apps, websites, social media platforms, who's the most looked at YouTuber, what are they advocating, what are they preaching, what are they telling people, what are our children following. It's so important that we stay in touch with the constant change in this technology and what's going on in the world as well. To understand the potential risk and dangers, we need to know what's going on in each of these platforms. And one of the things I found when I was doing my research, a recent YouTuber highlighted, was how perpetrators use iconic cartoon characters. Now, this is a bit alarming, but perpetrators will edit cartoons, and it's very easy to do now, where you can take genuine cartoon characters out and clip them into a video of your own and make them do inappropriate things. And this is what's happened. And he said there's over 100,000 inappropriate content and images of simple cartoons that your young child will be watching. And it's very easy to access that, because you would just need to type the name of that cartoon and it will come up in that feed. So you have to be really careful what your children are accessing, because what we may think is just a normal cartoon and it's a normal cartoon character and it's just a series or an episode of something, actually may be far worse. So we do need to, cipher through these and sift through them and see what it is that our children are watching, what it is that the content is. And this has happened on several occasions. We've had famous cartoon songs where, and then they've twisted it and turned it into inappropriate content. And you would think it's just a genuine song and they're just making a mockery out of it. But actually, if you listen to it, it's all inappropriate content, and the words in the song content is all inappropriate. So it's very important that while we think that our children are being desensitized and it's just a joke or it's nothing serious or they're being lighthearted or it's just something minor, it's actually instilling the wrong information to our children. So we as parents need to make sure we are looking through. And I know it's quite scary because we have to be on top of everything all the time, but just be aware of especially these iconic cartoon characters, because I was shocked to hear that there was over 100,000 over on YouTube available where it was all inappropriate, and it's inappropriate content and it's inappropriate actions where some of the characters are injecting themselves or having suicidal thoughts. So you don't really want your children to be thinking along those lines, and what we think we're protecting them from, these cartoon characters are making it desensitized and the norm. And so we have to really step up and make sure that this kind of information is not being conveyed to our children. Set rules and boundaries. Set clear guidelines for screen time and internet usage. It's very, very important. I'm very strict. I've been told I'm the strict parent in my house. I don't let my children go on technology, especially in the weekdays when they have school. If they do something well at school or if they've achieved something, I'll let them have it, but we have parental controls over these. You can instill filters on devices, and ensure that they are age appropriate as well. So you can, if your child has a mobile phone, I'm really strict with mobile phones. They have to have it, and they have to have it when they're over the age of 13. But you can actually set on the settings that this is a 13-year-old's phone, and so only age-appropriate content will appear. Now, even with this, there's contradictions, because some of these things that we think is age appropriate. So you think you'll put in 13, and some films that say that they're suitable for children from 12 onwards. I've sat through a 12 film and I've looked at some of the content and I don't agree with it. And I, as a mum, wouldn't want my child to be exposed to or know about some of the things. So do double check again, because what is the general consensus of an age-appropriate rating may not feel right for you and for your child. So it's important that we check through this and make sure that the content our child is accessing is something we are comfortable with and we deem it as age-appropriate, not what the general ratings are, because it's not always in line with our thinking. So again, as parents, we have to be on top of this and make sure there's probably too much violence, there's too much sexual scenes in this. So we just have to make sure we are setting those boundaries and making sure that they are accessing things that we feel is age appropriate. Monitor online activities. Regularly check your children's internet usage and implement parent controls and filters, as I said, to block explicit content. Now there is a certain apps you can get where you can, I think if you pay for certain devices, you can get blocking up the pop-up adverts that come on certain things, and this will then minimize the access to this explicit content. We have to be careful because there are some cartoony games, and I know there's a very famous game that's out there which a lot of children are accessing, but this game is accessible across the whole World Wide Web, and anyone can access it. An adult can lie about their age, assume that they're a child, and go on and access these games and try and speak with your child or contact your child. So it's important that we explain to our children that as soon as anyone tries to private message them or is sending nice messages, this thing needs to be alarm bells, and they need to speak to you immediately. As parents, you need to be notified of this immediately so that you can handle the situation appropriately. Teach critical thinking skills. Help your child develop the ability to critically evaluate online content. Now, this is just off the last point that I made. We need to teach them the authenticity and reliability of information they come across. Is this genuine? Is this appropriate? Is this real? Has it come from a certified website? Or, we need to educate them, and we need them to think. What I'm worried about that's happening nowadays is a lot of things are being desensitized, where we don't know and we just think, oh, yep, that's that. And robotically, people are just doing things, but not actually knowing what they're ticking off or what they're seeing or what they're viewing. And that's all going in our heads. And this information and images and things stay in our head, and it does have detrimental effects on the mind. So it's really important that we teach them to double check everything and look at what's acceptable, unacceptable. Is this an edit? Is this, something that's genuine? Sometimes we, have video clips and we think it's funny, but actually, if you listen to what they're saying, is it appropriate? Is it something that we agree with? Is it in line with our Islamic values? We have to think and listen, and we have to be present in the moment, because I think what's happening is we're often watching something and we're not there. We're not really watching it, and our mind is somewhere else, but our eyes are fixated on the telly or on the screen. And this is worrying. So we have to teach them to be present in the moment, aware of what they're accessing, aware of what they're listening to, aware of what's being shared and said, all of this. So it's all about having the critical thinking skills and being on the ball, essentially, and awake about these things, and understanding the difference between genuine and ungenuine content. Even as adults, we make these mistakes. We can sometimes, come across someone's shared a piece of news with us about this happening, and before you know it, it's been shared 100,000 times, liked 100,000 times, and actually that was false news. It wasn't genuine. That whole video clip was a mock. It wasn't a real genuine clip on anything. So we have to make sure we have to think before we do things, and I think if we can practice that and emphasize it with our children from a young age, it's something that will be instilled with them. And so when they are our age, they'll be able to differentiate and know that, okay, this is not appropriate, this is not right, I don't know the genuineness of this, I'm just going to ignore it. They'll be able to make better choices. You can get filtering and monitoring tools on your devices. So these can, as I said earlier, help block, restrict the access. Now, it's very important that we look out for these filtering and monitoring tools and understanding how we can block these pop-up messages and everything, because once you've installed them, it will change the way your computer works and everything. So we need to make sure that it's done using the right technology, and you've got experts coming out and doing these things. Don't go for what you think might be right. So look out for the genuine ones there as well. Foster a strong connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, this is something that we as adults are continuously working on. I know I'm working on this as an adult, as a mum, as a grown-up. I'm still fostering a strong connection with Allah. I am trying my best to realign, reorientate my thoughts and everything, my thinking, and making my day go with Allah in mind. So if we can practice this ourselves and we teach this to our children, this strengthening the connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and understanding the significance of a pure heart and pure mind, can help them be protected from the temptation of viewing or accessing this explicit content. We try and reinforce this in our home by educating our children about the inappropriate images and the impact this leaves in our head. Now, like simple things like you can see a naked body where you have to name the parts of the body. Now, if you are seeing a cartoon image of a naked body where you are naming parts of the body or you're looking at the body, often these images can stay in your head and they can have distorted images in the head, and it can play on a child's psychological mind. And so it's very important that we are allowing them to understand the importance of seeing appropriate images, because in a nutshell, it's a corruption of innocent minds. When you see these images, or when your child sees these images, they are going to replay in your mind all the time. So we need to try and remind our children that seeing these things, you might think it's nothing, but you might be trying to focus on reading a book, but those images keep coming up in your head. Our minds work like a photographic memory, and especially if you see images, they stay in your head forever. I know as an adult, I'm an adult, and if I see anything inappropriate, if a video is shared that's traumatic, or too much graphic or too much violence, it plays on my mind for days, and I hate it. And I've stopped now. If I get any videos shared, I don't often open up anything, because I know what my mind's like. I know that if I see something that's emotional, or if I see something that's violent, it will stay in my head and it will just keep playing in my head when I'm trying to focus on other things. So I don't want to corrupt my mind. So I think this is how we need to teach it to our children as well, that you don't want to corrupt your mind. You want to keep your mind and your heart pure. And so this is the emphasis. We should be reinforcing the concept of keeping the heart and mind pure in that point there. Encourage healthy alternatives. Now, this is, we want our children to have a positive outlook to exercise their energy and curiosity. So encourage them to engage in sports, have hobbies, spend time with the family and friends. We're living in a world where technology is in everything. So you go to the supermarkets, we are no longer talking to cash assistants. We are talking to a screen. We are navigating our shopping through a screen. We are no longer having people do our shopping online for us. It's all done through a system. So technology and the non-communication with humans is forever increasing. So we need to try and find that balance and tell our children that, look, you need to have healthy alternatives. The world is full of humans, and technology is turning us away from communicating with humans. So we need to make sure that we are having those family times, those family moments. Bring out the board games, get out the board games. My favorite one is Scrabble. I'm told that I cheat because I use a lot of the words in foreign languages, but I've discovered a lot of words in French playing Scrabble, and it's great. But yeah, get out a board game and play that with your children, and have that time with them where they are not thinking about technology, or they're not wanting to play a game online. You know, go back to the traditional way of playing games where it was all on board games, and it was building Lego, and it was making bricks. You know, I miss those days. So I do try and have moments where I think, okay, the cleaning can wait, the cooking can wait, dinner can be delayed. Let's just take this time out and play with them. And we have to do that. We have to do that as mums. We have to just say, it doesn't matter if they're going to bed 10 minutes later. If it means that they're not in front of the telly, or they're not playing a game, or they're not bickering, and you've taken that time out to have a family game, then it's worth it. I think they're 10 minutes or half an hour or an hour late to bed is worth it, because you've taken that time out to spend some quality time with your children. And the last point I have here is seek support from Islamic scholars and imams. So as a parent, I find that if I do find something challenging, a bit difficult to explain to my child, especially when I want to instill the Islamic values and practice into it, I have reached out to local scholars and imams and asked them for guidance on how can I explain this to a child? How do I make my child understand this or have this better connection with this? And alhamdulillah, they've been able to help. So I think we need to demystify in our own heads this illusion of, mosques and imams being strict, and it not being a place where you can go and ask these questions. You'd be surprised how much the scholars have had to educate themselves and update themselves as well, because we are, as I said, in a forever changing world. So scholars have moved away from traditional studies and have had to educate themselves of the problems that we are having in current times, because these problems that we are facing were not problems that were faced in the time of the Prophet ﷺ. So everything is different. So scholars and imams have had to educate themselves, and they've had to expose themselves to these issues so that they can help parents, guide their children onto the righteous path. So we should reach out to them if we need this further guidance, and we should also help instill a healthy relationship with mosques and our children. A lot of the mosques in the town now are running a lot of workshops where they are asking young children to come and learn about simple fiqh of classes on Islam and the teachings of Islam. And we should encourage our children to go. We should encourage our children to have this relationship with the mosque and not be afraid to listen into what the imam has to share. I know some of the mosques are also running sports clubs, exercise classes, open to women. Again, we should be encouraging our young girls to go and take part in these classes. Now, listeners, I hope these tips have been of benefit to you all tuned in this morning. It's a forever growing aspect of the digital world, and there'll never actually be a cure against it. It's always us educating ourselves and then teaching our children this through Islamic values and providing them a strong foundation. By doing this, it may help them navigate the challenges that they'll face through in the digital world. So I'm hoping that my top tips that I've shared around trying to navigate the challenges of this digital world has been of benefit, inshallah. And I guess it's a continuous circle. Now, my quote for today: coming together is a beginning, keeping together is a progress, working together is success. Jummah Mubarak and Assalamu Alaikum. Wishing you all a blessed Friday. Assalamu Alaikum.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. Why not tune in to our live stream at inspirefm.org and follow and subscribe to our social media platforms at Inspire FM Luton.